Episode 1, My Entrepreneurial Journey, The Awakening, and Asiago Roasted Garlic Cream Sauce Chicken. Stick around!
Welcome to Business Edge Radio, the show that gives you tips, tricks, tools, and techniques about how to build a more profitable business, while at the same time creating your perfect lifestyle. It's a show about working less and living more. A few golden nuggets, a little bit of wisdom, and over 35 years of business experience to help you keep your edge. Lifestyle entrepreneur, best-selling author, internationally renowned business speaker, and daddy of three, Mitche Graf brings the heat with actionable techniques for building the business and lifestyle of your dreams. Now your host, Mitche Graf.
Well, hello there, Unleashed Tribe. Welcome to another episode of Business Edge Radio. I'm so glad that you've joined me. I'm your host, Mitche Graf, and today I want to take you on a little journey into my entrepreneurial past so that you have an idea about why and how I approach opportunities and situations in business in my life today. We all are a combination of every single experience we've ever had, all rolled up into a nice package we call you and me. My entrepreneurial journey has taken me places that I could have never imagined back in the days before I made the decision to become my own boss. Now, when I was very young, I did the obligatory boy thing of having a used bike part business out of my garage, as well as selling lemonade in front of my house after school. And while all the other kids were selling their glasses for 25 cents, I sold mine for 50 cents a glass, but I also gave you a fresh baked chocolate chip cookie, a table and chair to sit at. And back in those days, I lived in Southern California, so I had a small transistor AM radio that I used to play Dodger games on. So I really created that nice experience for my customers. I can tell you that I did much more business than my other friends who were trying to sell their lemonade for a quarter. I can remember the very first real business that I ever started. It was while I was going to college at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. I had an idea to create a business for left-handed people. And as you can probably guess, I'm left-handed. Well, the name of the business was Left of Center, and I had the coolest products that you could ever imagine. I had a left-handed black coffee mug with a beautiful gold foil logo on the side and a gold foil rim. I had a glamorous pen and pencil set that also was gold foiled, and I had a left-handed paperweight that had gold foiling on it as well. Now you're probably saying to yourself, hey Mitch, those products can be used by either hand, and you're right, they can, but it was new and novel, and nobody had done it before, so I had pretty good sales. People would buy for their spouse, their boss, their best friends who were left-handed, more of a novelty gift. Back then, there wasn't any internet or email or any other quick ways to get the word out, so I would do classified ads in the back of classy magazines and put my address in the ads and go to the post office box every day to get the orders. I then would go back to my house that I share with a bunch of college buddies and box up the orders. Then the next day, I would drop them off at the post office on my way to my classes. I did this for a couple summers, then I got bored with it and sold it to a buddy of mine for not much, and I moved on. After college, I had a variety of regular jobs, ranging from being a sales manager for a medical supply company to a DJ at a local dance club, fitness director at a health club, and in the early 90s, I was hired as the national sales manager for a pet product manufacturing company, and suddenly found myself getting sucked into long hours at the office. I became one of those corporate working stiffs that had the old-fashioned version of the 24/7 lifestyle. I would go in early, stay late. I worked weekends, holidays, all the time pretty much. Now, I was handsomely paid, of course, but I finally had enough of burning my candle on both ends and got sick of trading my valuable time for a paycheck, and decided to give up the rat race in favor of spreading my own wings and trying my ideas on the world. After my left-of-center experience in college, I had owned several of the companies through the 80s and 90s, but never had went all in, so to speak, to go out on my own and forge my own way 100%. It was very, very scary at the time, but I had just come to a point in my life that I wanted something different than just a paycheck. I used to have lots of hobbies back in those days, but I didn't have time. I didn't have time to enjoy it. And that's the operative word here, is time. I was used to trading my precious, irreplaceable time for a heavy workload, major stress, managing upwards 75 people, which brings on a stress all its own. So I went out, and my mom and I purchased a failing drive-through coffee business, and this was way before drive-through espresso was popular at all, which is probably one of the reasons why we were able to buy it for so cheap. At the same time, I started a cribbage board company, and we were selling to local sporting goods stores and gift shops, and we sold through telemarketing as well. I had learned to play cribbage when I was very young, and it was a passion of mine. It actually still is. And away I went. We turned the espresso business into a sales juggernaut over about a 2-year period, and the cribbage boards quickly became the hottest new product for Christmas in 1996 at Target stores and other chains around the country. After a couple years, I sold both businesses for 6 figures and moved on to my next set of ideas. From there, I started a portable hot tub business where people would rent a portable hot tub for a weekend. It was a hot tub that I placed on a single-axle flatbed. We built up carpeting and rails and had a floor on it and an 8-track tape player for music and obviously free delivery. People would rent the tub for the weekend. We'd take it over, set it up in their driveway, fill it with their water, add some chemicals, and fire up the propane heater. Within about an hour or so, it was ready to jump in and enjoy. It sure was a lot of fun, and I made some really good money, and then decided to sell it, moved on. I've also dove into the restaurant industry a couple of times. In fact, a few years ago, one of my restaurants was voted a top 10 restaurant in Oregon. I owned a professional photography studio for several years. That also gave me the opportunity to begin teaching the basics of business around the world at various conventions and workshops, which I did for about 15 years until my children started popping out, and I decided I didn't feel like traveling 20 or 25 weeks a year, so I backed off considerably. I built several manufacturing companies. I've owned a couple different limousine companies that were recognized with national awards for our branding. I started them, built them, and sold them. But I think the strangest and most unique business I've ever created was a worm company called Sure Strike Jumbo Nightcrawlers, which actually is a pretty funny story. I used to live in North Idaho, and one Wednesday in June, I decided to go fishing. And I went to many, many different sporting goods stores and convenience stores, hardware stores, trying to buy just a dozen worms. The stores were either sold out or they didn't carry them at all. I got a little upset that I couldn't even buy a single worm on a Wednesday in North Idaho in the summer. So I went back to my office, made a few calls, found a place that sold worms by the thousands. Yes, there's actually companies out there that do that. I created a logo, some dynamic packaging, hired the best salesperson that I knew, and we proceeded to hit every potential customer in eastern Washington, North Idaho, and western Montana. In a matter of about 5 weeks or so, we had managed to pick up a majority of all the stores. What was unique about the product was the size of the container. Most worms that you and I buy come in 12s, right? Well, Sure Strike Jumbo Nightcrawlers came in 18 packs because our tagline was 12 is never enough and 24 is too many. And the word jumbo referred to the size of the container, not the size of the worms. Just so you know, it was just a regular nightcrawler in the container. We were rocking and rolling in the dough when I got a call from out of the blue from a guy named Mr. Bait, who informed me that I didn't have the right to sell to these people because he was the bait supplier in the area. I then informed him that I actually did have the right and that I was now the supplier. I told him that I really didn't want to be in the worm business, which I really didn't. I just saw an opportunity. And I'd be happy to sell him back his customers along with the other accounts that I picked up for 20 grand. To which he abruptly hung up the phone on me. Well, we kept plugging away and racking up crazy sales. Then about another month goes by and I receive another call from Mr. Bait saying that he would buy the business from me. Once I told him that the business was now worth $40,000, he started yelling and screaming at me on the phone, and in the end, I sold it for $25,000 and sold him back his own accounts. One thing that this business did for me was that I never had to worry about running out of night crawlers for sure. Fast forward to 2018, where I was happily owning a very busy catering and event business, a manufacturing company, as well as a publishing company. But I got bored and was looking for some sort of a new opportunity. My wife, Tammy, says that every 2 years I get bored and I have to buy something, build something, sell something, or otherwise give my brain a new challenge. And I had heard that they were looking for a president for the local Class A affiliate of the world champion San Francisco Giants, which is kind of weird because I grew up a Dodger fan. Anyway, they were looking for someone to come in and rebrand the organization. So after 25 years of not drawing a paycheck from anyone but myself, I became the president of a professional baseball team. Kind of cool. And to be honest, this was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had in my entire life. Imagine being able to be in charge of a professional sports franchise for a period of time after a career of being self-employed. It truly was the opportunity of a lifetime. The challenge of taking a 25-year-old brand and making it new again made my brain sweat for sure, but in the end, we revitalized the fan base and enthusiasm for the team, and the attendance shot up 12%, which is one of the biggest increases in all of professional baseball in 2019. Well, after about 15 months of being a kid in a candy store, I decided that it was time to return to running my 3 companies and to be more present for my kids during the summer. So here I am today talking to you about this wonderful journey that I've been on. And that's only half the story. There's another life-changing event that has helped mold me into the person I am today, and I call it the awakening. And I'll share this moment with you right after a word from our marketing partners. This episode is being brought to you by the School of Hard Knocks. If you're anything like me, you know many people who have wounds and scars from battles won and lost in their life. We've all heard it said before that, oh, he or she is a student at the School of Hard Knocks, or the best lessons I've ever learned are from the School of Hard Knocks. Well, this prestigious university has some of the best alumni in the entire world, and the curriculum is more difficult than Stanford Medical School. You can't apply for admission, and you don't get to pick your classes. We all know that special person who always seems to be hit with adversity and obstacles, but always comes out the other end with a smile. Now, there's a special gift that is unlike anything they've ever received. As we all know, the School of Hard Knocks has one of the most difficult curriculum of any school in the world, and you now can give the gift of a PhD from this prestigious university. This authentic-looking diploma is printed on the same high-quality paper that the top schools in the world use for their diplomas and comes with an official gold foil seal that will look great framed in any room. Signed by both the president of Perpetual Hard Knocks as well as the dean of adversity, this PhD degree will light up any room and become the center of conversation. The diploma reads PhD in Street Smarts and Learning the Hard Way with a minor in Picking Yourself Up by the Bootstraps. This hard-fought degree is indeed a gift that money cannot buy. Get one for your spouse, for your boss, your parent, your best friend. Give them the gift that money can't buy today. For a limited time, when you place your order at www.schoolofhardknocks.net, you'll receive a special Business Edge Radio discount of 20% at checkout when you enter the code word EDGE. Once again, 20% off your first order when you use the code EDGE at checkout. And to sweeten the pot just a little bit more, I'm also going to include a complimentary digital copy of High Voltage Branding, Go From Ordinary to Extraordinary, as my gift to you. www.schoolofhardknocks.net. That's www.schoolofhardknocks.net. Get one for that person in your life who seems to have everything, or heck, get one for yourself. You've earned it. By far, the most valuable asset that you and I have is time. And the biggest decision that we make on a daily basis is how we choose to spend the time. We all have 86,400 seconds in a day. That's it. How we consciously choose to spend those seconds determines who we ultimately become over our lifetime. Each day, we literally make hundreds of decisions determining what kind of successes or failures our business will have to endure. Many of these seconds, minutes, and hours, days, weeks, months, many of these seconds, minutes, and hours are wasted on thoughts and activities that add zero value to your life and my life, or the lives of the people that mean the most to us. And once that time is spent, we can never get it back. For the past 25 years, I've had the rare ability to treat every day like it was a Saturday. It is the best day of the week, right? On Friday, you're excited for Saturday because you don't have to get up early, and you can stay up late Saturday night because Sunday isn't a work day either, so it feels different than any other day of the week. Do you agree? I don't get the Monday morning blues or get stuck in the rut of a 9-to-5 mentality work week. This life-changing philosophy was instilled in me by my stepfather, Pat Wright, one of the hardest working men I've ever met. He loved my mom deeply, and that motivated him to do whatever was necessary to keep us safe and secure. My mom and dad divorced when I was about 11, and my mom worked 2 and 3 jobs to provide for my brother, sister, and me. We would see Dad on weekends, but the day-to-day raising of the kids was all Mom. Pat came into our lives several years later, and by that time we were a tribe of hardened souls, accustomed to doing without in many cases, but never lacking in the important things in life. When I was in my early 20s, Mom and Pat dreamed of owning a boat. Not a big fancy boat to sail the 7 seas or anything, just a boat the family could take out on Hayden Lake in North Idaho to spend our weekends floating off into warm summer evenings. With this dream in mind, they managed to set aside enough money to realize their dream, and they eventually found and bought Big Red, an old V-Holt fiber form. The excitement in our family was incredibly palpable. She was an older vessel that needed a paint job and a little TLC, but she had class. We bought Pat his very first captain's hat, loaded the cooler with beer, and set sail. I distinctly remember to this day how the 5 of us left the marina with smiles in tow on a beautiful summer day. With our troubles behind us, we fell into total silence as we looked around and oohed and awed at the beautiful mountains and shorelines. We were without a care in the entire world, at least at that very moment. Nobody was going to take the beauty of that moment away from us. The awesome silence was broken by Pat's immortal words. I wonder what the poor folk are doing today. Those words hit home. We suddenly felt elevated to a higher plane at that singular moment. We were all in Never Never Land for that tiny little slice of our awesome day that nobody could take away from us. An amazing feeling of euphoria floated in our minds, however fleetingly. My mom responded, "Babe, we are the poor folk." The funny part is, her words were true to the core in the practical sense. But on that day, practicality was out the window. Pat affectionately looked at each of us. Then he looked out over the horizon with his chest puffed up, his head held high, and said, "Not today, babe. Not today." At that precise moment, we became the richest people on planet Earth, and it had nothing to do with money. It was about living in the moment, enjoying the gift of the present. It didn't matter what the following Monday was going to have in store for us. It was all about living like royalty at that very moment. Pat was a superhero to me and my siblings. Every superhero has a power that emanates from within, that empowers them with a competitive edge and drive against negative and evil forces of the universe. Thanks to Pat, one of my superpowers is the ability to approach every single day like it's a Saturday. Several years later, Pat was working as a parts manager for a Toyota dealership and loving his life with my mom. The kids were out of the house, and they were both living large. One Monday afternoon, he grabbed his keys, had a quick laugh with his coworkers, and headed home to spend another cozy evening with his wife. But before he had a chance to open the office door, Pat collapsed. He never made it home for dinner that night. Happiness and optimism were in his bones. Maybe it was from his days in Vietnam, watching buddies die right in front of him. Or maybe it was simply knowing something that the rest of us didn't. His unique way of looking at a miserable situation and making it bearable, and turning lemons into lemonade, making every day a Saturday, was his precious gift to me. We spent the week talking about the good times, remembering the laughter, and crying until we didn't have any more tears. As the week went along, our emotions seemed to elevate to the point that we laughed louder and cried bigger. When it was time for us to return to our lives, I can remember feeling like my entire spirit had just been cleansed. Amazingly, I felt like I had been gifted with a renewed sense of perspective for my own life. Now, I wouldn't trade that time for anything in the world. It's these moments in life that you talk about things you normally don't talk about. It made me realize that every day can be a perfect 10 for my family, friends, coworkers, employees, and myself. I should never let a day go by that I don't tell the people who mean the most to me that I love them. Life is much too short to not do that. Realize that every day can be a perfect day for you as well. The past is history, the future unknowable. All you have is right now. That's it. You never know what lies around the corner. Of all the gifts that I've received, this is by far the most powerful and enduring, indelibly etched into my consciousness. It's the best gift I've received from anyone, and I would like to pass on this gift to you during our time together on this show. Now, let's move on to a segment I call Cookin' Corner with Mitch, where I share with you a tantalizing recipe that you can try at home this week Today's recipe is for Asiago roasted garlic cream sauce chicken. You know, for me, cooking is a way to escape the craziness of the world for just a little while and allows me to be one with the ingredients. If you enjoy cooking like I do, and I hope you do, you know what I'm talking about. If it's early in the day, you can grab a good cup of coffee. If it's later in the day, you can pour yourself a glass of chewy red like a Malbec or a Petite Syrah, or a nice Chardonnay or Riesling for lighter fare. Turn on some good music, and you are in business. All right, to begin with, I want you to mince up about a quarter cup of fresh garlic cloves. And if you don't have that, the pre-minced garlic will work, or even some granulated garlic, but this recipe really does best with freshly minced garlic cloves. Drop it in a hot pan that's been laced with olive oil and let the sizzle begin. Can you smell it? I love garlic. While that's cooking away, start a saucepan on medium heat and add 4 cups of heavy cream. If you're trying to watch your fat or calories, you can use half and half or even regular milk if that's what you have. Of course, the heavy cream will thicken much faster than, say, 2% milk, but anything is fine. Once the pan comes to a slight rumbling, start adding 2 cups of shredded or grated Asiago cheese. Parmesan is in the same family, so that will work also, but Asiago is a little bit stronger and likes to hang out with garlic for sure. You can use grated or shredded, whichever you prefer. Over about a 10-minute time, slowly add the cheese while gently whisking in circles so the cheese becomes one with the liquid. Once the garlic is a beautiful golden brown, pour off the oil and add the garlic directly to your sauce. Let it simmer on low while you continue to whisk it until it's reduced down to a nice thick consistency. This is not a get-her-done quick recipe, so sit back, relax, have fun. I call it a 2-glass recipe. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Also, the longer you let it simmer, the more oils that the garlic can release. If you want to kick it up a notch, I recommend that you try adding some diced sun-dried tomatoes or artichoke hearts even. And make sure you give the sauce time to get happy. Once your sauce is simmering away, take yourself 4 4-ounce portions of boneless chicken breast and place them on a red-hot barbecue grill, or you can put them on your stovetop in a pan with a little olive oil, season with some salt and pepper, and garlic, of course, until perfectly cooked. You ladle the cream sauce on top, put a little more cheese, and you've just created one heck of an entree for tonight's meal. Grill up some fresh asparagus, brush it with some nice butter, throw in a loaf of French bread, and you are in heaven. Have some fun with it, get creative, and let me know how you like it. Well, that does it for this episode of Business Edge Radio. I invite you to like, rate, and review today so that other people can discover the show as well. Today's parting shot is this: if you never have the courage to leave shore, you will never have the joy of discovering new lands. Until next time, this is Mitche Graf reminding you to live with passion. I'll catch you later.
Thanks for hanging out with Business Edge Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to subscribe, rate, and review. Then hop on over to www.mitchegraf.com to get even more meat and potatoes. We also invite you to follow the show at facebook.com/Unleashed Tribe. The most valuable asset that any of us has is our time. And we thank you for choosing to spend some of your precious time with us.